Yo, what's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Here in today's video we're going to be looking at how to make basses a little something like this. Okay, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Here we go. Okay, so here we have an initialized preset. For this preset, we need two saw waves. So we're going to open up the oscillator B as well. Here we have the default saw wave. We're going to detune them slightly in the voices. So let's put them on two voices each. So let's just tune it slightly as well. Let's turn the randoms down as well. And then what we'll do is we'll add +2 on this one, which takes us to this. But we'll also add +7, and then we get that kind of tone with the sound. So I know I want to put some wobble on this as well. So let's set up an LFO very quickly on this one. Let's do something like this. I think we'll have it on 1/4 rate. We'll make sure it's on trigger so it starts from the beginning each time a note plays, and we get something like this. If I put this to the levels on each one, we end up with this. So what I'm going to do is I'll turn this one to about here a little bit and bring this one down a bit more. That's slightly different each one on the level. Okay, so that's cool. So now we got that sound sorted out. What we want to do is we want to set up a couple more things. So let's turn on the sub and let's also make this one move a little bit as well. So let's turn it up a bit and set this to here. It's going to go down a little bit this time. Something like that will do. Excellent. And then next, after that, the next thing I want to do is just add a filter to this sound as well. So let's go through a low 18 on this one, so it's a bit steeper, but make sure that both our sounds coming through here. Doesn't matter about the sub. Actually, let's make the sub direct so it's not getting affected by anything that we do later on. So it's just coming directly out of the master, meaning it doesn't pass through the effects section here, so I can put effects on without disturbing the sub, because we want to keep our sub nice and clean. Sometimes we can direct out it, sometimes we want it to go through the effects because we want it to react with the other sounds. In those cases, I would probably recommend that you put a new sub in, a separate sub. But if you want to, you can go direct out if you don't feel it's necessary to use it through the effects chain. The idea is to keep your subs kind of clean. The more distortion and effects you add to it, the more you start adding and changing the character of that sound, which is a sub. You might wonder why they don't sound deep and fat sometimes, and well, one of the reasons is we put too much effects on it and we start changing. Like for example, if we add lots of distortion or saturation to a sub, we end up getting more of a square wave, etc., than a sub. So to keep it nice and clean, the idea is to either keep it separate or just direct out so it's not getting affected and it's as natural as possible. And we're going to put a filter on here as well. So we want to control this filter with the LFO that we've set up in here already. So let's put it to about 9 o'clock. And then let's just drag that onto here and we'll put that to about like 12, something like that. So it comes to about there. Let's try that. We can add some drive and some fat to it. So let's put this on the drive a bit as well. And we'll put that on to fat so that comes up a bit as well. So you can see it just gives it a bit more presence. Let's just turn the monos on, the legato on, and then do this so we can have a bit of glide if there's any notes that kind of glide together. Cool, there we go. You can hear a little bit of glide happening between every note that plays and changes there. Let's get rid of any potential clipping at the beginning, or clicking, should I say. Put that about there. Let's add another one though, because we want a little bit of thump at the beginning, but we're going to do that like this. I'm going to leave this on trigger mode as well, actually, so because this is a repetitive note, it will add a bit more thump to each time that note repeats itself if we do this. So we're going to set this in the matrix. So go to the matrix, go to LFO2, set your LFO2 to the global master tune. Make sure it's going one way, so click on these arrows that go both ways, so now it goes one way, and then double click on here, and then you can type in 12 semitones for this one. Let's try it there. So you can hear what that's doing with the pitch. Obviously we don't want it so extreme, so what we'll do is, actually what I'll do is I'll put an extra little clip in there, something like that. Okay, very subtle, it's on there, adding a little bit of knock to the transient every time it plays. So what we need to do next, just to finish off this sound, because we're basically there, is to just come into the effects section here. Let's start with the distortion over here. We're going to put this in soft clip mode, I think, because I want to kind of maintain a bit of the original harmonics in this sound without destroying it too much. Let's use this to add a bit of knock here. So we can maybe do something here somewhere. See what that sounds like. Okay, very subtle as you can see. We can really drive it, see what happens. Try that around there somewhere, and then we'll put a compressor on here as well, just to give it a bit more oomph as well. Let's have the compressor gain up and see what happens. That will do for the compressor. We're just giving that a bit of extra drive there, the compression. And the EQ, what we can do on the EQ as well is we can come and play with the bottom end here. So maybe there's a bit too much bottom end to this sound. We could get rid of it. Remember, the sub's coming out directly, so this is not going to affect the sub, so we'll still have that low sub end. But to this mid layer, maybe there's a bit too much bottom end. Let's have a look. Next, let's just thicken up the sound a bit. So a good way of thickening up the sound is to add a bit of chorus. Let's just click on where it says low pass filter and get it on high pass. So we move it to high pass mode. See what happens. Okay, so that will do for the effects. Let's come back out to the oscillator here. I think we got the sound pretty much down to how we want it, but we could also add some macros. This is something I don't normally include in the videos, but it's something I always do when making presets, is add macros in order for further manipulation, so I can add automation later on. Therefore, this creates more interest in the loop or idea that you've got going. So let's start by adding this macro here to the filter cutter, for example, and see what happens now. So next, let's experiment with some FM. So let's turn this FM on to oscillator 1 from B, and then let's drag the macro over to here and see what happens when we play this. Something like that. It's an option and something you can add to add a little bit more interest. It makes it change a little bit. Let's have a go at modulating the X and the Y. So let's, for example, modulate this. We want this to kind of come down, for example. So let's just name these, obviously, FM for that one, and this one is can be like plucked, for example, or something that makes it plucky. Obviously, remember you can set your macros to multiple things. You don't just have to send it to one thing. You can do some quite crazy effects if you start adding multiple parameters to one macro. So I think that's about it, guys, for the video today. Thanks very much for watching. Until the next one, take care of yourselves and peace.